Give this feed a second to load. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Atlantis and superpowers today. So I'm just going to kind of see where this takes me, but I want to talk a little bit about how to recognize if you did have past incarnations in Atlantis and some other things on this topic. So I'll give it a second so some people can find us, and I'm about to get started. We have a lot of energy coming in, so it's kind of sparking this conversation because a lot of people's bodies are handling these energies differently, but we're seeing that there is a theme where through doing this spiritual process, we're seeing a lot of abilities activate or be unlocked and come online. I want to talk a little bit about Atlantis, though. This is one of my favorite topics to get into. It's also one of the hardest subjects to talk about from my experience. The experience I do have on this topic comes from my own Akashic record. I feel that a lot of the information that is being brought about from these past places kind of is coming from different people's perspectives and soul knowing. So, you know, what my soul may have experienced in some of these places might be a little bit different than the lessons that you've had, but I really look at these past places as a huge part of our history that's been kind of hidden from us, right? Kind of buried and hidden in these places. But it's a huge part of our soul history and the journey human consciousness has gone through, you know, kind of getting from, you know, these points to where we are now. So it very much has to do with all of this. I think it's part of the reason why our history has been not only distorted and hidden, but rewritten in a lot of experiences. History tends to repeat itself, and I'm huge on bringing back these past lessons because it relates to what are we doing here now? How did we end up like this? What is kind of unfolding with humanity, and where we're kind of at is very familiar to us, kind of on a soul level. You know, I always say that some of these past places didn't go so good. I think that the major theme that we can see between some of these past civilizations is there tends to be some type of fall. And I use that term loosely because really these societies fell away from the creator, God, call it what you want, in some type of regard, kind of stepping away from the spiritual. We could see a lot of power struggles that were really reminiscent in these past places, not just Atlantis, but Egypt as well. We see a lot of corruption and power struggles kind of in high places, and that's very reminiscent of what's happening here now. We saw a lot of technology kind of take the place of a lot of natural things. There were very similar things going on now that are going on now, like DNA manipulation, trying to create kind of hybrid species. So kind of playing around with DNA and things people didn't really have that good of an understanding about. And a lot of these kind of past lessons, we can see them playing out now on this timeline, kind of very, very familiar. Now, during this time, there were a lot of very spiritually evolved people that lived in these places that had mastered amazing abilities. The frequencies were much higher on this planet. I think that the process that we're going through now is going to put us on much, much higher frequencies that we're going to be able to kind of tune into these same things that people could in past times with, you know, much higher energies and things like that, and spiritual understanding. People had amazing gifts and abilities. We can see a theme not just with Atlantis and Egypt, that sometimes these abilities were not being used for the highest good of humanity, and you know, sometimes people would choose to be service of self with these gifts and abilities. So I think it's really important to understand that not just in past times, but here we have a lot kind of playing out in one place. There was a lot of concern before whatever happened in these places happened, especially in Atlantis, where people really thought that, just like now, that it would be best to ignore any type of negativity, stay positive, stay focused on the light. We see this theme happening now, right? It's important that we're not feeding into these things and making it worse, and we need to stay in gratitude and stay in love and light, and the universe will kind of take care of the rest. So even though there was kind of a lot of negativity going on, a lot of very spiritual people kind of thought that would be kind of the best avenue to ignore the things as they were unfolding and just trying to stay really focused on the light and assisting in that way, which clearly didn't go so good, right? Didn't really have the outcome people wanted. So we see there was a lot kind of transpiring during this time. I think that this has just kind of been the struggle of the human soul for a while. These kind of power and control struggles on this planet. We can see kind of similar things have occurred in kind of different societies and civilizations of the past. But, you know, there is kind of a cover-up when it comes to some of these places where a lot of, you know, things are being suppressed around here, whether it's like, you know, healing capabilities, our history, you know, things are kind of being hidden from the masses in terms of where we came from. And the question is why? From my understanding, I can best understand it, that, you know, there's been a big kind of, I guess you'll say, conspiracy to cover up our past in a basic way, right? There are certain forces that would love to believe that we're here for nothing more than to work on Prison Planet, right? Nothing more than to be slaves, and that's really who we are, right? I like to, because a lot of these religions and things enforce that in so many ways, and they really want to hide our divinity. If you look back at these past places, they were beautiful places full of like spiritual energy, a lot of technology. A lot of people really think of some of these past places as very primitive. I don't. I think that they had a lot of technology that we can't even really conceive of. When I look at some of these past places, I look at Atlantis as a galactic society, that it was really like a galactic civilization where, you know, that's our history. That's where we come from. We have this galactic history and these galactic origins, and at the least possibly extraterrestrial ancestors that no one wants to really talk about around here. And the people that do, like doing these videos, do so at a risk of ruining their reputation or people talking about them and things like that. So I think this is a big piece of who we are, though, and our understanding kind of the past. I mentioned that people had a lot of abilities. Well, how do you know if you had a past life there? We need to be asking the right questions, for sure. I'm kind of doing some techniques in our Awakening to Ascension class on the Akashic, and I think it's very important that we're asking these questions. A lot of people going through the spiritual process are having a lot of kind of memories come back during this time. This is a process where we're meant to be healing, and, you know, this kind of knowledge is coming back to us. A lot of people just have a knowing. Maybe you've always been really drawn to the water. Things like ocean life, mermaids, dolphins, right? Signs that you might have had connections with these past places. I can usually tell the people that are Atlantean starseeds, I say, because they're usually in their mind more. And that's kind of part of the abilities we came with as well. So I usually see that a lot of people that have past lives in Atlantis would have kind of an overactive third eye, right? Because we're coming back with these abilities. We just forgot, and we're just learning to grasp the natures of reality and what we're capable of. A lot of people that might have had past incarnations there probably would have a lot of abilities, but there also was a lot of kind of, I guess we'll say, guilt about what happened, right? People kind of felt a sense of responsibility about things going wrong there, how it's played out, how it's affected the entire planet, and kind of is continually affecting the planet and kind of these systems that we have in place on this planet now. So a lot of the times, some of the souls that would have had incarnations there would be very service oriented, or may have have even chosen to reincarnate during this time to assist the collective in clearing some of that karma. I look at our situation now as this situation came full circle, and that's really kind of an indicator that we're clearing past karma too from these times, that we're living in kind of a similar setting. Like when I try to picture what was going on there, I just look around the world now and just see what's happening. We have like CERN over here throwing off the weather, and every time that they're playing with it, it's setting off the ring of fire. We have things like HARP, where they are experimenting with and trying to change the weather, and not in a good way. You never see them trying to assist with things going on. It's never usually good, these things. Let me see, just a lot of artificial intelligence we see now. I don't think people are even capable of the level of artificial intelligence that's already kind of, we'll say, implemented on this planet. It's kind of reminiscent of these things. We see a lot of the same kind of ventures where there's kind of like things being done with DNA, not just with humans, but with other species and things like that. So if you want a good understanding, we can really see what's come full circle. No wonder our history's been hidden, right? We might be kind of like, oh my God, looking around, like this is all a little familiar. It's also why so much fear during these times. I feel that people know, like, despite what we remember on an unconscious level, we understand, you know, this place could be a scary place. We could really, you know, have the potential of destroying ourselves. It's happened before. And so a lot of people don't understand that. And I think that's why there's so much fear when we're kind of dealing with this. Another sign you might have had past incarnations there. Maybe you were born in America, or you live in America. There is a connection between Atlantis and souls generally that will kind of choose to incarnate into America as well. Good morning. We're talking about superpowers too. So a lot of people, I put a post up like, what's your superpowers? I know a lot of people, like I said, have this degree of fear, right? Like trust issues. We'll just say trust issues after you have a lot of lessons. I know all about that too, because I had kind of a rough, some rough lessons at the early last year, so I'm kind of moving past that and trying to open up more. But I did put a post up on this wall. You should probably, even if you're just like writing something, maybe you don't even have any superpowers. What kinds of abilities are you drawn to? That's a big indicator that you might step into those abilities. Some of you guys might be having dreams where you have some awesome powers. And for me, I'm only remembering little bits and pieces. I do have some people be like, oh, I saw you in the astral, and that really clicks because I'm kind of traveling everywhere and doing weird stuff there. So I'm trying to kind of, you know, navigate the astral so I can bring back information. And I did have an experience where I was doing cool things I doubt I could do here in the astral, and I felt like I was kind of like working on my abilities, fine-tuning them. You are doing this work in the dream state at a lot of times, where you're being reminded that this reality is an inner world. Just as you leave here and go somewhere else to sleep, that's also an inner world. So we've been creating worlds, especially since we came on this planet, this incarnation, of our mind. Whatever's going on in your mind is going to be not just influencing your reality, becoming it. Becoming your entire outer world, whatever's going on in the internal. So literally the best way for me to try to work with these abilities was, number one, getting mastery of my mind. It's a lot of like what the Jedis teach, right? Mastery of your mind, literally. So if you have a lot of negativity going on, for me, that just throws me off. So I'm kind of like picking up a radio station I don't want to tune into. And as a channel, it's really important that I'm keeping negativity away from me, because when I'm higher frequency, it's easier for me to be tuning into my guidance and the messages kind of that I receive. So for me, number one, cleaning up my mind was probably the most powerful thing I could have done. This isn't going to happen overnight. But do you guys ever have like negative thoughts that you don't align with? You don't want to see them in your reality. If you do, try to correct those thoughts, I swear. Like you're dealing with a child almost. Your ego is pretty much like your scared inner child that has been kind of traumatized. I believe all humans had a lot of, we'll just say PTSD kind of activated within our DNA, kind of going through this process. So it does take, you know, love and healing to kind of reprogram these things. If you're having like a lot of stray negative thoughts, work at that. Work at being that, if you're a, you know, that mother or father voice that you didn't have. So if, you know, I have a lot of toxic thoughts going on, like I don't think I can do my videos, this is a real struggle. I don't think I can do my videos. I don't think I can get on here and do this. And I'm going to probably tell myself, no, it's okay. You can, and you'll get a cookie. I'll give you a cookie or something after, right? Try to talk to yourself like you might a child. I'm not even joking, to try to reprogram, because that negativity will go away. Send yourself love too. If you're freaking out and afraid, because usually that's when our ego surfaces like, this won't work out, this might go bad. More love, I swear, it will heal that fear. It will heal any type of like ego programming. That helps too. So number one, we need to get mastery of our mind. A lot of the abilities that we're going to be tuning into are learning how to create. That's why we're here, I swear. So we're supposed to be learning how to manifest. Visualization is powerful. Usually we see something in our mind before we see it in our outer reality. For me, I manifest by daydreaming. I will like just kind of put it out there. I told my boyfriend last night that it's very important that we are manifesting, because the universe is going to create the rest of your life whether you're ready for the ride or not. And if we can be more clear about what we want to do, the universe will for sure find a way to incorporate your ideas into that. It doesn't want to just create your path. It wants you to kind of wake up and become consciously aware of this process and to tap into your power. It's like a pressure cooker on this planet energetically, kind of at the moment. I don't know if people are feeling that. We have people at, different levels having different lessons, but you need to understand, how else would we be pushed to step into our power if we didn't have to kind of work our way out of some complex situations? So for me, I'm going through the same process as everyone else, but the spiritual that we're learning can really help us in better dealing with whatever situations may arise. And we can, through staying positive, attract more positivity into our lives. So I had a lot of negative programming, I tell people, and I had a lot of low vibrational experiences come to me that I didn't really enjoy. I had a spiritual awakening. I began to kind of practice with this stuff, because we have to practice, and look where it's brought me. So through, staying positive, that's a powerful part of us tuning into these abilities. So if you had a past life in Atlantis, work on your root chakra more, staying grounded, recognize if you had a lot of fear in your life as well. A lot of the ones that would have had incarnations there probably would be working on getting rid of fear this life. And it seems like an easy lesson, but for me it wasn't. Right? Facing our fears, getting rid of fear. And I know everyone, that can seem like a simple lesson, but it wasn't for me to explore those kind of deep, dark fears that I had, and to work on letting it go and transcending all of this. So, a lot of this journey was us exploring and meant to heal and transmute these kind of fear distortions. Let's see. Crystals. You might be really drawn to crystals. Atlanteans were very powerful in healing. They used a lot of crystal technology. I have to grab it. I am very drawn to the Andaras, because I really believe that they had a lot of technology in Atlantis that would use these kind of crystals. And I believe that the current galactic energies that are coming into the planet, some of them are being produced or amplified with Andara technology. So I'm really drawn to this kind of concept, right? Ascension. So I'm kind of drawn to these crystals. But what the Atlanteans were really good with was the ley lines, right? Because they were galactic. So, if you guys have past incarnations in Atlantis, you might want to kind of explore, well, where did my soul come from before that? You probably have galactic origins, or, would have come here from maybe a different planet to assist in seeding this one into something new and beautiful. And the intent was to create heaven on earth, I swear, right? It wasn't to kind of experience all this. It really was an attempt to come create like a utopia, something beautiful and whatever. Okay, so the Atlanteans were really good at tuning into the ley lines. They would harness energy from the pyramids, and people are like, wait, those are in Egypt. They had their own pyramids as well. And so they would use those kind of energies and this natural ley line energy and kind of space energies, like we're learning how to do now, to do amazing things. Like we could for sure have that as our power sources. There's energy everywhere. Free energies, things Tesla would have been into, right? Bringing free energy to the planet. We could stop paying electricity. We could stop trashing the planet, right? We could have a lot more of these kind of energy sources. So they really realized, the power of these different kind of universal energies. So let's see. Good morning. I'm trying to get back into my video flow, so I do appreciate all of the support, right? I've been kind of MIA, but I'm getting back into the flow of things. If you are even drawn to this video, like random, you guys think it's just easy to find, like I know, I'm live, here I am, but I really believe only certain souls are being guided to me or led to me. So if you're watching this video, whether it's like live or somewhere else later, you probably had a piece or an aspect in Atlantis. It's probably a big part of who you are, and you know, it might have even shaped you into the feelings you have now about the situations that are unfolding. So we have the same drama every time. Right? We have the same drama every time. A lot of our history was rewritten, but especially these places were really buried. Where did Atlantis go? I could entertain some really good theories. I've heard that maybe it lifted off like a spaceship. I like to think that this planet is a spaceship. That's just me, right? I have my own perspectives. We don't know. People talk about those pyramids might be under the ocean. They have found some amazing stuff under the ocean. They say that they probably would be better at like space exploration than exploring our own oceans with the technological kind of place humanity's at. So we're not very technologically advanced right now. People think they are. Why not? Well, as soon as we get a little bit of technology, you see 5G going up everywhere, right? And you see things like that might not be good for everyone. So there is kind of a fear and there is kind of an attempt to hold back humanity technologically until we can become spiritually evolved enough to kind of understand the effects that we're having. So we see some of these same kind of things happening as well. Attempts to control the frequency, attempts to control the collective, knowledge being hidden, and so only certain groups, no names, right? Only certain groups can access this knowledge or understand it or things like that. But it's a lot of what is coming back now. Now I guess I'm going to go into some of these abilities. I'm kind of all over the place, but like I mentioned, you might be having dreams that will kind of show you a little bit better about, you know, where you're headed with these abilities. I told someone I was psychic probably about 2 years prior to my awakening, and I think they laughed at me. I said, and by the way, right? So I started to have, I guess we could say that as these energies are going up, the frequencies are rising, so we're able to kind of access this stuff easier and easier. And so I would say that, you know, the frequencies have really started to rise since 2012. Now we're hitting such a place where I literally do have concern, I would say, about the effects of these energies. Can we imagine where we're going to be in another 2 years with, you know, these geomagnetic storms never ending? I was looking at the forecast for the space weather, and K2 is like our average, you know, kind of where we're at with this space weather. So we can see that it's intensifying, and that the energies, yes, the frequencies are going up. That feels good for me. It feels amazing. But what about people that are still really, like, we'll say, programmed, you know, not taking good care of their body, in a negative place, toxic overload, right? People with a lot of attachments, that might not feel good for them, and it might have a really hard effect on the body. So we can see the frequencies are going up, and hopefully we can tap into and tune into, you know, the other realms, our abilities, things like this. So we have these abilities that are coming online. A lot of them are going to be kind of centered around the third eye, the mental. You know, we talk about amazing things like telepathy. I believe that all people are meant to be, I always say this, psychic, empathic, telepathic as well. If you're around someone and they're sad, you're probably going to be feeling what they're feeling and understand how they feel. So we're meant to be like designed. I know that we were meant to be empathic so we wouldn't harm another. How genius is that? If I'm around someone and I hurt them, it's going to hurt me as well. I know we become really psychically polluted and disconnected from that concept, but we can see if the collective is having a hard time and hurting, everyone is probably going to be feeling it or affected on some type of way. There is an attempt to bring out that fear too, like not telling people what's going on. I swear there's like a doomsday scenario in the news generally every week. How many times have we seen prophecies, predictions, never good stuff. It's always like, oh my God, I think the planet's going to end tomorrow, and, you know, Christian doomsday story. And so we see a lot of that kind of to feed on that fear to control humanity as well. If we could let go of fear, that's our only kind of manifesting obstacle as well. So there is kind of the same attempt going on to keep people at a lower frequency. I believe that we agreed to meet now during this time to kind of right, bring closure and healing to these situations as well. A lot of you guys might be feeling like you're living in between worlds. I'm having a lot of we'll say disorientation. Disorientation lately as I'm kind of, you know, expanding my own consciousness and awareness of where we are. But I mean, in whatever regard, a lot of times when we wake up, I feel like we're going into a different dimension. And so sometimes you can feel kind of like you're being removed from the old world. Just kind of go forward on your path. About these abilities though, I think it's going to be like the Marvel movies, like literally with what's happening to our DNA. So we can see that these cosmic rays and incoming energies, we have a lot of, you know, solar winds, we have a lot of galactic energies hitting the planet. And, you know, if you've done the spiritual work, it's going to have a different effect on your body and your DNA. I did a lot of research on these different types of energies and how they impact our DNA. And like less than 2% would probably mutate, their DNA would mutate into pretty much a superhero, like the Marvel movies where they go through something and then kind of come out this superhero. And I really believe that's a lot of what is happening with this ascension process, that through people doing the inner work and, you know, their DNA being in a good place, that instead of the DNA being broken down, it's being broken down and mutating. So I think people are kind of coming into more and more of these abilities as these energies are kind of coming in and they're kind of changing our DNA as well. I'm not sure what happened, but for sure we're being recoded and getting back to that divine structure. I like to think that there are a lot of benevolent forces of light assisting us with this transition and assisting us in kind of recoding back to our kind of divine template. So, you know, people were able to access the spiritual more during these past times because they were working with more strands of DNA. They have more, you know, chakras open, more chakra capability and things like that. But I really know that that's where we're headed back to as well. All right, so if you guys, sometimes it can take a minute. I had a lot of blocks. I think there's pieces, this is a topic for another day. I think there's pieces of the Akashic actually missing. I'm not going to go through this chat, right? So why can't we remember our past lives, right? Well, we're beginning to be able to remember. Like I said, sometimes you get a knowing, sometimes you're drawn to something. If I look at my childhood, it's really obvious that I probably had past lives in some of these places, just from some of the places I ended up or some of my experiences. So some of you guys might have been around a lot of really, you know, nice places. Some of you guys are drawn to technology. You know, I see a lot of negative things about technology, but it could be really amazing if we can find balance with it, right? It doesn't have to be a negative thing. You know, these technological advancements can save lives. They can help us communicate better. They can help us link up across the planet for good purposes. So a lot of people have a lot of fear about technology. It wasn't meant to be used negative though, any of this technology. It's meant to be assisting us. Let's see how it plays out though, right? So, you know, we have to find balance this life with technology. Maybe just, I try to unplug more. Let you guys know that I had to just leave my phone, unplug, go away. But we're meant to be finding more balance with that. And we see that there is kind of an imbalance occurring as they're talking about 5G, people being on their phones a lot, glued to their phones. You know, I have seen prophecies where they talk about that, where people won't notice they'll be glued to their electronics and things like that. So we can kind of see, this is why we've been kind of held at these places in whatever regard, but your soul has really come full circle on this journey, and you know that's why we're making this ascension now. So in whatever regard, sometimes our lessons this life were to clear karma from some of these past journeys and things like that, but it's also meant to push us to remember who we are and our purpose. I mean, they talk about the children of light from Atlantis. That really resonates with me. I feel like I am one of those souls. I feel like a lot of the people that are drawn to me, it's also some type of past connection. And these places are amazing because people literally, they would have healing temples. They would have, you know, where people came together in groups to learn. And they were much more spiritually oriented, even though there was, you know, handfuls of people maybe doing bad things. These were meant to be beautiful spiritual places that your soul kind of yearns to get back to. So we can kind of see that right now. I have good news though, as the frequencies are going up, if there is any type of negativity, not just in your life, but in the collective, it's going to fade away. That the frequencies are going to keep going up so much that none of that bad, negative, right, duality kind of stuff is going to be able to exist anymore. And this is going to be a powerful journey as this unfolds. And it's kind of a gradual reveal, and we're basically just going through, you know, as much energy as we can handle. It's just going to kind of intensify, bringing us where we need to be. Trust the process right now. Trust the places that you're getting led to. I'm going to keep giving a little homework. For homework, maybe meditate on, you know, anything that you can bring back from these times. I spent so much time, I guess you could say, in meditation, in the Akashic, on some of these past places. It's hard to put it into words. Maybe ask some questions about, and like if you had an incarnation there, who were you, right? What were you doing? Anything about the collective? And like I said, sometimes we don't get these answers back right away. I bet you'll get a dream about it. Bet you'll see a video and it will be like Atlantis, right in your face, right? Atlantis and this. So you will get the answer back. I think it's important that we're asking questions about our past lives, who we are, you know, things that the universe wants us to know that is powerful and important, because it's only through me kind of, I guess, opening those doorways and going so deep into those areas that I can know myself and kind of have what I need. If you are being blocked in some of these areas, because I know all about that too, it is so that we can continue on with our journey now. But we're at an amazing time where these frequencies are going up so much that we can pretty much access, you know, anything that we need, especially about ourselves. So, you know, this is a really powerful time for, you know, exploring, healing, things like that. For sure, I would meditate more on this topic, anything the universe wants to send you. I'm going to be going, I have a lot of really good material I'm going to start putting out in all 3 of these class spaces. I put a new pinned post up, so I'm just going to put it on here. I start like a new class for the year. From 2020, we're starting a new one. So it will go like, it will carry on from the year before. So whatever we are going into, it'll just kind of build upon that and kind of bring you more as well. So I have a pinned post if you want to see more about that, if you guys had to take care of the class fee. And I will be back Monday to do class videos in all 3 classes. So we have 3 classes on here. I'm real excited to kind of come back with some new content. Like I said, this is a hard topic to talk about, so if you guys are having a hard time remembering, you know, it's a hard kind of topic to delve into, but it's so powerful and so important, because I literally sit around like, I just woke up like I'm coming out of a dream, or like it's as if you might have died and you're just kind of waking up, right? Going through this spiritual stuff. And so it's very important though that I'm always asking, well, how did society get from here to here, where we all are now, right? Why would we want to be experiencing all of this? It's meant to be like a redo, where we can literally, instead of shifting and becoming service of self, we can become service of others, and we can kind of rewrite the story. You know, we were able to kind of rewrite history. So I think it kind of is all coming full circle right now. All right, have a good day.